Welcome to the Copeland Coaching Podcast, where it's all about turning your job search into a slam dunk. Your host is Angela Copeland.
Welcome to the Copeland Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Copeland. On the phone with me today, I have Sami Harvey in Memphis, Tennessee. Sami is a UX writer who's worked for hotel company Hilton and advertising agency Archer Malmo. Sami, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, happy to be here. How are you?
Well, I'm so excited to talk about your recent job search. Folks are really stressed about this issue, and I'm so excited to walk through your job search with you. You work in an industry that was super hard hit by COVID, the travel industry. It's just been such a tough year. And I'm curious first, can you share with us a little about how the travel industry was kind of impacted overall from COVID?
To put it lightly, I would say we were absolutely devastated. Some of our most high performing hotels that normally had 100% occupancy dropped to 5% or lower, and so many of our properties had to close. We were shook, to say the least.
It's just so nuts. I mean, in Hilton, it's just such an amazing brand and such a just amazing company. It's so hard to even think about. COVID's had such a huge impact that it's hard, I think, to even process it from the outside. I don't know, it's just incredible.
We were all blindsided. Everyone on my team really felt like we were an indestructible industry. And then to just watch all of that vanish in the pandemic was, I never saw it coming. I know nobody did, right?
Right. I guess how could we? So it sounds like, was your job personally impacted by COVID?
Yes. So when it first hit, we all went remote. And then by April, Hilton furloughed just about everyone who they didn't deem essential to operations, which included almost all of my team. I worked on the creative team. And who needs creativity at a time like this? So after they put us on a 90-day furlough, and then as that came to a close, they sent out another email, which was saying that they were letting me and 2,100 of my closest friends go permanently. They just couldn't afford to keep us on anymore.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's just awful. So it sounds like you didn't have a lot of notice.
No, we got about 2 weeks notice for the furlough, if I remember correctly. And then it was about the same when it came to the layoffs. And, I had the highest hopes that we were coming back from this furlough. I did not see the layoff coming. Again, totally blindsided. I should really plan for the worst a little bit more often.
No, but how could, it's such an amazing company. How could you even ever picture that? I think someone mentioned to me, I don't know, this was a while back, but that it was something like 80% of the workforce or something got laid off from Hilton.
That sounds right.
Some shocking number. What does it mean to be furloughed if we've never been furloughed? Is it this? It sounds like it's not the same as being laid off.
It's really similar to being laid off, but somehow I think it helps them. We were paid about 20% of our normal salary, and we were able to keep health benefits during that period, but we weren't able to work in any capacity. They shut down all access to our email and any work-related programs. So it was like a paid administrative leave, sort of.
Wow. That's so nuts. And I guess when you're furloughed, you probably, people in general probably don't qualify for unemployment if they're furloughed. Is that true? I don't know.
Yes, that is true.
Oh, wow. Okay. Gosh, it's just nuts. So when you were kind of in this in-between period, and then I guess after you learned for sure that you'd be laid off, were you doing anything to sort of day to day keep yourself going forward? Because I think this could be such a shocking event for a lot of people that I mean, it would be super hard to keep kind of putting one foot in front of the other. I mean, how did you do it?
So I took it pretty hard. So I spent about a week just weeping and shaking my fists at the heavens. But life goes on. So I did what any reasonable person would do with a lot of extra free time. I opened a wildlife rescue. So now I'm taking care of raccoons and squirrels, possums. There could be some foxes in the future. Just trying to stay busy. And then, work related things like attending virtual meetups and taking online courses, trying to get a little more active and put my name out there since I hadn't planned on needing it out there at any time in the future.
Yeah, the animal rescue thing is super cool. I mean, it's amazing, and it's something that you can like add to your resume as something you've created in the meantime. Um, I mean, how did you decide to start an animal rescue?
I have always taken in animals. I found this squirrel that had been hit by a car when I was 8 years old. I nursed him back to health, and that has just been the thing that brings me joy ever since, is just helping people who need it. And most of the time, those people are animals. So after years of kind of rescuing under the table, I decided, I've got all this free time. Let me get my official hours and go legit. And we're actually just in the next week or so, I'll have the facility dropped off. It's like a pre-built building, and we'll be able to fill it with enclosures and take in probably up to 200 animals a year at
Oh
different
my
times.
gosh, that's amazing. That's so
Thank
cool.
you. I'm so excited about it. Right now I have 3 baby raccoons and then 5 squirrels, one of which is about 3 days old. I could go on for hours about these babies. They're just all so precious, and I just love taking care of them.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, I think it's nice to find purpose when everything else is kind of going haywire. And I'm really impressed that you were sad for a week. I would be sad for a really long time, I think.
I mean,
Um,
I'm still sad. I just put it in a box and put it to the side and said, you just have to keep going. So
right.
that's what I did. Every now and then I open the box and just cry into my Hilton t-shirts. But
Yeah.
it just got to keep going.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned when you talked about keeping moving forward is you said you went to like meetups and sort of online events in an effort to get your name out there and to network. Like, how did you find those events, and what kind of events were you looking for?
So mostly I'm a UX writer. So I live, breathe user experience. So I just plugged in those search terms into good old Google, and then meetup.com. Eventbrite also right now has a lot of virtual events that they're promoting, keeping people together while they're far away. So I've been able to join like UX meetings for organizations in San Diego and Chicago and places that I would never otherwise get to attend. So I mean, that's been a total blessing because I'm reaching out to more than just the Memphis UX community. I'm getting to hear from folks all over the country. And in some of those meetings, there's people from all over the world. So I think it's a lot of fun
Wow, that's super cool. Well,
connecting that way.
so speaking of like the Memphis folks, the UX folks, were you able to sort of turn to sort of friends and colleagues to kind of provide support at this time, or how did that work?
Um, yes, my team at Hilton, we're called XD. We were like family, and so many of us were. I mean, even the ones who weren't furloughed or laid off have been affected. Our team is completely in shambles now, and we have come together in a way that just like brings me to tears. We created Slack channels, and everybody has stayed in touch. If we hear about a job, we post it. If we just need to vent, we do that. There's a group to share cat photos and encouragement. everyone has really been so great, helping each other get portfolios and resumes put together. It's been great. I don't think I could have gotten through it as in one piece as I did, thanks to having my team, have my back, even after we're technically not a team anymore.
That's amazing. That's It's so nice. So speaking of sort of your colleagues and having your back, I noticed, and I don't remember the exact details, but I noticed that one of your old colleagues created, I don't know if it was like an article, he created something online that was about really talented people that he worked with who were impacted by COVID. And I remember seeing your picture and seeing a little bit about your background. What was it that he created and sort of how did that come about?
Oh, John, that was John Lloyd. And isn't he incredible? So he said that he wanted to work on his coding skills and that he was going to put together a portfolio for himself. And that quickly evolved into him showcasing all of the work our team had done in recent history and then tagging each person who worked on each project and their role. So then he took that and our pictures, a short bio, and somehow managed to create this portfolio for everyone. And I mean, it came in clutch because I was completely unprepared to have a portfolio ready, to have even my resume ready. And he did all the work. That's actually I used his link when I was sending out applications.
Wow. How many people did he feature in his, was it just, I think there were a number of people, right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you offhand, but I know that we had a team of probably 80, and I think that almost anyone. Like he sent out a request. Are you guys into this? Do you want this or no? And anyone who wanted in got it. So I think I'd say at least 20, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. I was so impressed. I've seen this kind of thing before, but it's really rare. Like, I think it's pretty rare that someone puts in that kind of energy. But I also think it's hugely helpful because when anyone else gives you like this personal recommendation and it's all over the internet, like, I mean, it's amazing. Did you find that a lot of people were sharing it or, I mean, did it get a lot of visibility?
I really don't know.
Okay.
He shared it and then I promptly ignored it and kept going on with my merry way. But his posts tend to get a pretty good number of likes and hearts and interactions. So I'm sure it helped.
Well, I definitely saw it and I thought it was amazing. I'm so excited for you that happened. Well, so when it came to your actual job search, and I know, like you said, you were totally not planning this job search. I mean, how did you start? I mean, I guess the first thing is your resume. Maybe let's start there because, I mean, did you have to start from scratch? Like, were you prepared with all the details you needed to put in your resume about your job at Hilton, or how did that go?
Oh, I was in no way prepared. I pulled out my resume and it hadn't been updated since I started Hilton in 2014. So it was not looking great. And my font choices were questionable at best. But, and then trying to recall any of my contributions that, in the middle of this depression fog, I'm like,
Mhm.
what did I even do? Like, what was my job? I could tell you stories all day, but I can't put this into bullet points. So I called my boss, Mark, and I was like, Mark, what was my job? Like, what did I do? And then he laughed at me a lot. And we went through my end of year reviews to come up with kind of a summary of key contributions and more measurable things. And I just slapped it in there. I hate bragging about myself. Resumes are my least favorite thing. So it was just as utilitarian as I could make it. I spent some time researching what makes a resume great and then did the bare minimum. And that probably explains why maybe I got so many initial rejections.
That was really kind of Mark. I think it also speaks to why it's so important that we always, as even when things are going well, that we kind of like keep track of what we're doing at work because sometimes you don't always have access to your old files or your old reviews.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I actually just saw a tweet last night or the day before of someone saying that they make it a point in their company to schedule time every like 4 months or so for people to update their portfolios because they want to they want to keep everything fresh and they want, but to be ready, like just in case. And you're going to remember those details, as soon as you've wrapped up that project and you're still excited about it, not so much 6 years later when the apocalypse hits. I mean, a pandemic.
Yeah, totally. It's really hard. And companies love to see like numbers, and it's very hard to produce numbers years later. Like you just can't remember.
Absolutely.
What about the format? Did you use like I sometimes have seen these really cool formats for resumes that are available on sites like Etsy. Did you use anything like that, or did you design your own, or did you use like Microsoft Word? Like what kind of format did you use for the resume?
I literally used a template in Google Docs. I kept
Oh,
it so
cool.
simple. Um, I I know that it can be awesome to make them really visual and beautiful, but I also just needed to get something done really quickly. And since my specialty is words, I tried to just use those
Mm.
to make me stand out. Just to give plus giving the recruiter or whoever's reading it something different to read instead of the same standard bullet points. But man, those sometimes Etsy has some beautiful layouts, and I think those are great, especially if you're trying to stand out among the crowd.
Yeah.
And
Well, so once you got your resume kind of pulled together and you started looking for a job, were you mostly like applying online or like talking to headhunters? Like, how were you going about your actual search?
I did most of my searching through LinkedIn. That's where I started, at least, just plugging in anything with the word keywords UX or writer, and then I hit a few of the job search websites, but I primarily kept it in LinkedIn just because it was kind of easy, just all in one little interface. Um, and then also you could see if you knew anybody working at some of the places hiring. So for instance, a job popped up that I thought, well, this is cool. I don't know for sure. And then saw I knew someone who worked there. So I reached out to that person and they had all of these great things to say about it. And, I wouldn't have gotten that on another site. So I was able to confidently apply and know that if I got it, I might be excited to have it.
Oh, that's cool. So I really like LinkedIn for looking for jobs too. It sounds like you were looking at the sort of jobs tab or whatever they call it in LinkedIn where they have actual job postings. And then you were able to sort of search the site for people who work at those same companies to reach out to them. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. The other thing that I think is so cool about LinkedIn is you can save jobs. And even after the company pulls them down off the internet, you can still see them. And so if the company pulls a job down and you get a job interview and you can't find the posting anymore, you in LinkedIn, you still have it as long as you saved it. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah,
I
they have
didn't even know
so
that.
much good functionality that I think we don't often think about because we think of LinkedIn as like a place to connect to do networking and we think of some of the other sites as the places to look for a job, but I think LinkedIn is both of those things, which is cool that you found that to be the case. Well, so
Yeah.
I'm curious, like in terms of the interview process, how was that? Was it all over Zoom, or did you ever have to go and meet anyone in person?
So I haven't met anyone in person, but yeah, initially a phone call, and then after that, some Google Meet interviews. Um, the people I spoke with were all in Nashville and Los Angeles. So in person would have been difficult or impossible, even in the best of circumstances this time. But yeah, just everything was as face to face as it could be through a screen.
Interesting. So the first call that was a phone call before you did video was the very first phone call. Was it like typically the HR person?
Yeah, just see how well you might fit and some hypotheticals, getting to know yous.
Yeah.
And then from there, it became more in person,
When
in
you
air
did
quotes.
when you did like via video with like the Google Chat or whatever, or Zoom or just any kind of video, did you do any special setup, but like to make the background look nice? Or, I mean, people get really, really nervous about video interviews.
Yeah, I just found a nice clean brick wall to post up in front of. My house is what you might call maximalist. There are things all over the walls and it can be really distracting. So I made it a point to find something simple so that they would look at me and not all my really cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really smart. I think that's smart. I've been considering, I don't know if you've seen them. They have these new ring lights, and I've been considering getting one for Zoom meetings because people have told me they really like light up your face and look really good, but I haven't broken down and actually tried it yet.
Yeah, I've heard of this too, but same. I haven't tried it. I just hope for natural light. And
Right,
sometimes you need it
right.
a little dim because working from home, your makeup's not always on.
I know, right?
A dim, a dim room can be a friend.
Right. Well, so did anybody, well, actually, let me ask you this. When you went through the interviews and you kind of went through the whole process, for the ones where you got further along in the process, how many interviews total did you end up having for like one company? Was it like 2 or was it 10 or somewhere in the middle?
It was 7.
7. Okay. I think that's always surprising to people that it's so many for, one company and one job, because I mean, that's a lot of time that you're putting in as a job seeker to like go through all these different interviews. But anyway, I think that's just good information to share. So I'm curious, as you went through the process, did anybody ask you like why you were looking for a job, or like about COVID? Or I mean, how did that come up?
It was honestly almost the first question anybody asked. So what brings you here? And and I was just always honest, COVID killed my job. I liked where I was, but now surprise, I'm here. And just they understood. The company that I interviewed with, they had to make tremendous cuts at the beginning of all of this too. The position that I was interviewing for was a backfill. So they all understood, what COVID was doing. And in that regard, it was kind of lucky. It took some pressure off because this is something we all relate to. So it wasn't so much, well, why aren't you at your job anymore? Like, what happened? It was just, oh, okay, COVID gotcha. We get it.
Man, that's a bummer. But yeah, you're right. Well, I I already know, as you know, that you landed a job offer, or you landed a job. And first of all, congratulations. It's amazing that in the middle of COVID, went through this really difficult situation and you found a job offer already while we're still in COVID. So first, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I don't
It
know.
was,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'd love to know, as much as you feel comfortable to share, I'd love to know sort of, you know, about the role, or about, what you're excited about, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm the new senior UX writer for Eventbrite. All of that time I spent on their website looking for virtual events kind of helped me fall in love with them a little bit. And I'll be starting here in the next week. I'm really excited about it. It is not what I planned on doing because I planned on dying at my desk at Hilton when I was 90 years old. But but it is something that will be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the challenges that it'll present. And the team seems wonderful. So all in all, it's definitely been a silver lining to this nightmare of a storm we've been in lately.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's such a good company. It's just, I love Eventbrite too. I'm so glad to hear it. I'm curious, so I don't think they're located in Memphis. Where are they located?
They have offices all over, but the role I interviewed for was based out of the Nashville office.
Okay.
Um,
So does that mean you're gonna be moving to Nashville?
no, no, no. I love Memphis way too much to leave. I was just upfront from the beginning that I was unable to relocate. And fortunately, their entire team is remote right now, thanks pandemic. So they were completely understanding and decided that fully remote would be fine for this case.
That's amazing. I'm really, really hoping.
Yes.
So were you kind of banking on that? You said that you applied to a lot of jobs in LA and Nashville. Were you sort of banking on the idea that those companies would be flexible with location?
Yeah, I did not even factor in location for most of the places I applied to. If I found a role that I thought would be a good fit, I would apply because I thought if they're smart, they'll make the right decision no matter where I'm based. Eventbrite was really smart.
I love that. I think this has huge potential to have a positive impact on the whole country if we could all interview for jobs that were just a good fit and didn't have to worry about where they were located. I think it would be incredible.
Totally. And I think that COVID has definitely showed a lot of companies just how productive, your team can be without being in the office. I've read some things, I mean, the amount of money the company saves and productivity is up. Like it's amazing. And I'm glad that we're getting to see that, if nothing else.
I know. I think it's going to be one of the positive things that comes out of COVID, as bad as COVID is it may totally change the way we think about work, which, gosh, it would be incredible. So I'm curious. So this is amazing. When you think about the time that it took, like how much time from the time that you started job searching until you landed this job?
Uh, About a month,
About a month. Oh my God, that's
which
amazing. That's like lightning
it's
fast.
so amazing. I thought that it would take so long. I budgeted and planned to be out of work until the new year. I just knew that given the circumstances, like no, in my brain, no one was hiring that wasn't like a drugstore or fast food because you think essential workers. And I know I didn't have time to become a nurse. So I just thought, okay, well, be prepared and then just hope for the best. And so I just kept trucking along. That's kind of the theme of the year. Just keep swimming. And it all worked out. And I'm so grateful for it. It just shows that there's more positive things out there than you would think right now.
Oh, I love that. Well, so if we're listening today, I know I've heard from a lot of people who've lost jobs, who are worried. I mean, what advice would you give us, or maybe what advice would you have given yourself a few months ago when all this first started? Um, what would you tell us if you knew that we just lost our job from COVID?
So first of all, I would hug you because this is a scenario where COVID is not going to hurt us.
Yeah.
But feel those feelings, be mad, be sad, take some time because this is super hard, but you're not alone. There's so many other folks going through this and we'll get through it. Maybe don't limit yourself to looking for the exact same role that you're in now. Think about what's the next step up or what's the next step over. Maybe there's this passion to rescue wildlife you didn't know that you could focus on, just use this as an opportunity to take a leap of faith because everything is already scary. Like there's nothing worse is going to happen. So just go for it because it'll be fine. Everything will be fine. You're really awesome.
Well, thank you. I know, God, this is such a hard situation. And I think the thing that you really emphasized just there was the fact that other people get it. Other people are going through it. So often when we look for a job, we keep it a secret because if you're looking for a job while you have a job, sometimes you can be fired. So we just learn to kind of keep it all inside. But I think this is one of those times where you need to reach out to friends. You talked about how helpful it was to have the Slack channel that was set up by your coworkers. And I saw the posting by the person that you used to work with as well. And I mean, you mentioned all these ways in which external people were willing to help and kind of help you move forward with your search. So I think that's a really important takeaway for me, is that we should be reaching out to other people for help right now.
Yes, absolutely. We are all in this together, and everybody wants a silver lining right now. So everyone wants to help you.
That's absolutely true. And wow. Well, I feel like we've run the gamut. Sami, thank you so much for sharing your story and for joining me today. I know this is going to be so helpful for so many people who are in the middle of the same stressful situation. And I hope that our listeners can have just as much success with their job search as you've had with yours. And congratulations again.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for your congratulations. I really do hope that this helps someone else, because you got this, y'all. It's going to be fine. I promise.
I think we need to hear that. Well, thank you. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the episode today, please don't forget to help me out. Go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe to the show. The more subscribers we have, the easier it is for other people to find the show. The Copeland Coaching Podcast is hosted by me, Angela Copeland. The show is edited by Daniel Lynn. Our media manager is Jennifer Strafacci. You can find more episodes of the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening. I'll see you soon.